How do business owners and CEOs increase their profits, increase efficiency, and reduce the amount of time they spend within the business, all while growing their net worth for eventual sale and exit? Our mission is to answer this question and unlock the secrets to success in the world of business transition planning. Welcome to Elevate Your Business, a podcast where we discuss valuable but sophisticated and complex growth and exit strategies and make them easy to understand. Join us as we talk to successful entrepreneurs, share new and profitable ideas, and help you to grow wiser and wealthier so that you can experience limitless success in both life and business. Here's your host, consultant, and financial planner, Adam Koos.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today we've got Kiley Peters, the same person I did a webinar with this past month, which if you didn't get a chance to check that out, please do. It was recorded, it's replayed on YouTube, and you can find it there, but it was a really, really great, engaging webinar that you got to check out if you're interested in what you see here today. So, Kiley Peters, quick introduction here. She's the visionary founder of RAYNE IX, an executive leadership consultancy dedicated to empowering women to become exceptional CEOs of their own businesses. With a focus on entrepreneurial education, financial literacy, and operational efficiency, Kiley aims to transform women's approach to business and enabling them to achieve personal fulfillment, scalability within their business, and financial freedom. Through her unique programs, including the CEO Hotline, the Accelerator, and the MVP Experience, she offers a blend of strategic business advice, coaching, and support designed to help women navigate entrepreneurial transitions and build thriving companies. Kiley's work is a testament to her commitment to making business personal and ensuring that women leverage entrepreneurship to craft the lives they dream of. We already had a webinar, like I mentioned, last month, and if you missed it, head over to Elevate Your Business YouTube page, and you can watch the replay on your own time. But meanwhile, enjoy my conversation today with the intelligent, wise, and ever-engaging Kiley Peters. All right, everybody, today we are thrilled to welcome Kiley Peters again, this time for a podcast, last time for a webinar. She's the founder of RAYNE IX, a beacon of empowerment for women entrepreneurs aiming to redefine success on their own terms. She's paving the way for future generations of women leaders, and I'm excited to expand on the webinar we did together and learn even more today. So, Kiley, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Adam.
For sure. And I'm going to ask the same question we kind of started with on the webinar because I just think this is so fascinating. And we'll start with the beginning in mind, but I'm going to tease everybody. We're not going to talk about what you've done again. But the first thing is you started a very successful company. You ran that company. You had several employees, things were going well, and you decided, you know what, I'm just going to close it down and I'm going to start a new company. So you closed down a company and then you started RAYNE IX. Can you tell me more about what led you to shut a company down, and a very successful one again, I might add, and then start RAYNE IX?
Yeah, well, I realized that I was living someone else's definition of success. So at the beginning of 2021, my agency, so I ran a digital marketing agency, and we were in our 5th year of business, and we had international clients. We were winning lots of awards, all kinds of things. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to take this revenue up even higher. I'm going to hire more people. Like, we're going to get bigger, 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 because that's quote unquote what success is, right? And I'm like, I'm a successful person. This is, here we go, another like feather in my cap, all that kind of stuff. And throughout the year, I had been given an opportunity to actually start RAYNE IX earlier than I had expected. And I was like, okay, great. I'm going to take this. And I was like, I love this work. I love this. And I was like, it's cool. I can do both. I can do both. I'll do both. I can do both. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. And what ended up happening was it was very not fine. And I ended up feeling like I was torn in like 2 completely different pieces. And by the end of the year, I crashed and burned hard. And I was like, I don't want to do this. Like, this is not what success looks like to me. And then it was like this moment where I was like, oh, because I've been looking at this quote unquote universal definition of success of like, this is what success. No, it's not. The only definition, and for anybody listening to this, if you take nothing else away, I just want you to take this away.
Yeah.
The only definition of success that matters in any way, shape, or form is the one that you define for yourself. It does not matter what your friends and family say. It does not matter what your spouse says. It does not matter what society says. It does not matter what any other person says, except what you define for success as yourself. And oftentimes as business owners, this gives us a lot of flexibility because we have ownership over the path that we take in our career most of the time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the goal, right? And but in order to have ownership, you have to make the choice, right? So I at the end of 2021, we had it was a tough year for us because I had been split in my focus. But by the end of 2022, we had the most successful year we had ever had because at the end of 2021 and that flip for me, there was this quote. We were just talking a moment ago about Dan Sullivan's books, but I read The Gap and the Gain by Dan Sullivan at the very beginning of 2022. And he quotes Greg McKeown, who is the author of Effortless and Essentialism, two different books. And he said, when you focus on what you lack, you lose what you have. And when you focus on what you have, you gain what you lack. And
Yeah.
I was at the gym. Okay, I'm not like a gym rat by any means, but I was at the gym walking on the treadmill and I had to like hop off of the treadmill. And I was like, oh my God, that is it. And I had to like write it down in my little notes pad on my phone, etc. I was like, that is it. Because I spent all of last year focusing on the thing that we were struggling with, which at that time was revenue. And I had not focused on, as a result, my team culture had started to deteriorate. And I was like, that was it. And so I made this very intentional decision at the beginning of 2022. I was like, all right, what do we have? We have an amazing team and let's hunker down on what they're really good at. And we're going to focus on that. We're not going to focus on building. We're going to focus on streamlining and focusing and optimizing what we currently have. And by doing that, we signed more net new revenue in the first 60 days of 2022 than all of 2021 combined. And by the end of March of 2022, we had hit our revenue goals for the entire year, which
Wow.
allowed me to then focus on really truly launching RAYNE IX. And at the beginning of 2022, I had a conversation with my employees and I was like, look, I'm burnt out. I don't want to do this work anymore. This is not where my heart's at. This is where I want to take things. And I'm not looking to sell because you are the best things that I built in this company. And I'd like you to come with me if you're interested. And that was the most important thing. So again, we talk about success. A lot of people talk about exiting a business and they think about this giant payday. And Adam, you and I both know that even of the businesses that go to market, only about 30% of them actually sell. So trying to wait for that giant big payday, it might never come. So one, owners need to be looking at how you leverage wealth within and outside of your business while you're building your business, right? Don't wait for that big payday. It may never come. And two, success looks different, right? I never had the intention of building my agency to sell it. Like that was not my goal. And by the time I realized I didn't want to be in it anymore, I didn't have any energy left to try to build it to sell it. And I was like, people are the most important thing. This was the best thing that happened for me. And for me, that 12-month exit strategy that was 2022 for me, it was all about taking care of the people. So I talked to my team members and I was like, I'd like you to come with me. This is what that looks like. We made sure that we took really, really good care of all of our clients and followed through on everything that we said that we would do. By summer, I think it was like September, we started to talk to our team of contractors and we're like, okay, this is what's going on. We're going to supplement, we're going to help you find additional business so that us closing our doors is not going to negatively impact you. So I helped them make sure that they were all taken care of. And then once everybody was on the same page, then we talked to our clients and we gave them at least a 90-day heads up. And not even just that, I also then helped to replace us. So I
Yeah.
told our clients, like, this is what's going on. And also, here's an introduction to people that can take over so that you're not in a tough spot. And that was really important to me in terms of closing the
For
doors.
sure.
So that was what we spent 2022 doing. And then we launched RAYNE IX in its full glory. And so that's why I shut down because it just no longer was what I wanted to do. It's not where my heart was. And I didn't sell because I wanted to take my team with me and I didn't want to lose them because anybody who's running a business knows how hard it is to find great people.
Oh man.
And I'm proud to say that right now, as we're recording this, the two team members that did come over and join me this year will be their 5th year working with me.
Nice.
And that means a lot to me.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So that's why I did it. I did it to pursue my own time. I didn't want to be held to the client fires that we were experiencing. I didn't want to be responsible for work that I didn't do. I wanted to get paid for my brain, which is what people kept saying they wanted anyway. And so that's what I built. And so now RAYNE IX, that's what we do. I take on a handful of one-on-one clients every year. And then we've built out a 6-month accelerator program and some masterminds, et cetera. And we have a very intentionally small team because I don't want to manage people.
Boutique. Yeah. I'm gonna go off the rails for a second because we talked a lot about this before you did your webinar last month that we
Mhm.
had. And when you talked about the biggest, most important thing being, define success for yourself and what that looks like, I assume you would probably also agree that it probably makes sense to literally, whether you like to write, put it on your Apple Notes pad or get out a
Mhm.
Word document and type literally what is success and what does that look like? And if you're
Yes,
not where you are now, what do you want? Right. So my question for you is, don't you think that that's the same or at least similar for non-business owners as well, for your
absolutely.
corporate executives, your working professionals, things like that?
Yep, absolutely. So the framework that I talked through in the webinar, and for anybody who maybe hasn't had a chance to listen to it, I call it the DNA of success, the definition and alignment of success. And the first step is you have to define success for yourself, and then you align your work to that definition of success. Now, I say your work because it can apply to literally anyone. It's very obvious for a lot of owners because you make all the decisions in the career that you've chosen, right? But it also applies to anybody who is an employee anywhere else. And so the whole framework is applicable to owners and entrepreneurs, leaders and employees. And so the 4 steps to defining success, the way that we break it down, is 1, define your personal purpose. You need to define your significance or your personal purpose, like what is the goal, why are you here, who are you meant to serve, etc. Then we talk about how do you need to be spending your time and energy. Adam, you and I just spoke a little bit before we started talking about this. It's so oftentimes we talk about like not trading time for money, right? And we take a look at like we have 24 hours in a day. That's easy to quantify. That for all people, that's easier to quantify. But what is less easy to quantify is the amount of energy. I was just speaking with somebody about their consulting packages. And she was saying, like, well, they're only taking 10 hours a week. And I was like, yeah. And she goes, but
Ooh.
they're taking more than 10 hours a week of my energy. And I was like, there you go. And so that was the big insight. And that's something to anybody listening, like, think about that. Where is your energy going? There's a whole lot of research and studies, and we go through an exercise we call leading energy drainers and drivers, where we talk about optimizing your energy. And the example I give is an LED light bulb. So there's a reason we call it LEDs, leading energy drainers and drivers, LED
Nice.
light bulb, right? So a normal light bulb and an LED light bulb have the same amount of output, right?
Yep.
But, and they do because I've Googled it, but an LED light bulb can take up to 90% less energy and last up to 25 times longer than a normal light bulb. So we think about that in terms of our own energy. Think about how much more output we could actually get if we were focused on optimizing our energy and not spending our time and energy doing things that drain our energy.
Yeah.
So that's the second thing. The third thing, so we've got what is your significance and personal purpose? How should you be spending your time and energy? Very important, the energy part. The third is what do you want and how are you going to make it happen? How are you going to lead yourself and or your team or other people around you to make those things happen? And the last one we talk about is what are the facts? What do you need and what do you need to know? What truly are like the hard and fast details? Because oftentimes as we go through this, it can be a quite emotional process and it's intended to be. But at the end of the day, we need to take a look at like, what do I need? What do I need to know? What do I have available to me? And what are the missing pieces? And then, kind of ladder those all together, right? And one of the prompts that I give people a lot when we work together, and so I'll share this with anybody listening, is finish this sentence. Finish the sentence. I'll know I'm successful when.
Yeah.
Just see what happens.
Write it
Because
down.
I will tell and write it down and be very specific as you can be. Because what usually happens when I have this conversation with people is it's never about money. It's always about their time and the people that they spend their time with. Every single time. Yes, we all want to be financially secure. Yes, we all have dreams of financial independence, but that is never the number one thing. It is almost always, I want to own my time and I want to make sure that my kids or my family, etc., looked up to their mom or dad or respected me, or I spent a quality time with my significant other, or I made an impact in the community that I feel strongly about, or whatever it is. And that's what needs to be driving everything you do as a human being. And I'll also say, and then Adam, you
You're
can
fine.
chime back in. um, it's so easy for owners to identify themselves as a human being and as an owner as one, right? And I would imagine that for some super dedicated employees, you can probably also say that. But it's really, really, really important for all people to identify what success looks like to you as an individual, apart from the work that you do. Because when the work you do doesn't go as planned, it is really easy to get down on yourself and start to question yourself and like, what am I doing? What is my value? What is my worth? And we really need to disconnect that from you as an individual to the work that you do. Now, there should be connections and there should be alignment so that you live a full life and you live the life that you want. But it's really important to separate those two things.
That's great. And don't ever feel like you need to cut yourself off or whatever.
I was just like, wow, I'm going on a rant here. Here we
No, but
go.
that's good. I mean, I've you and I've known each other for a few years now, and I mean, I've seen we've done this. We've talked, in person on the phone, Zoom. I've seen you speak on a huge stage in front of thousands of people, and you're an engaging speaker, and you get excited. Like what I love
I
about
am.
you is I get super excited and passionate about things, and if you get me with the right topic, I will not shut up. Nobody will ever tell me that one of my best qualities is being concise. So. Um, So let me just tell you how difficult it is, or we've been running this podcast since 2015, but more actively now, two podcasts since 2020. We kind of ramp things up, but how difficult is it for somebody like me to sit here and ask questions and listen?
Mm-hmm.
There's so many times where I want to jump in, so don't
Yeah.
worry about that at all. It's totally fine. Going back onto the rails, what we talked about, like what inspired you to start RAYNE IX, but how do you think it changes the game for entrepreneurs and even specifically women, if you want to chime in on that?
Yeah. Well, at RAYNE IX, we do primarily work with women business owners. Um, and I think it's changing the game. One, that's a great question. And thank you for asking.
Yeah.
I'd like to think it's changing the game by normalizing the conversation of you can build a business that serves your life, and that's okay. And it doesn't have to win awards. It doesn't have to be seven figures in revenue. It doesn't have to have a giant team. It doesn't have to do whatever anybody else says it has to do. But you can really truly design the life that you want to live. And I think entrepreneurship is an incredible tool. I don't think that entrepreneurship is the best path for everybody. And I'll never say that it is, because it's very hard and it's very demanding. And it's just not the right path for everybody. And that's okay. But for those who want to own their time, who want to take control of all of that, then I do think it's an incredible path. And I want everybody to know that you can build a wildly successful company on whatever terms you decide that is defined by. Like, that's the anthem I want to preach. I want to help as many women as possible build amazing, badass companies and live the lives they want and feel good about it. And
It's refreshing. Yeah.
that's what I want.
Like imagine that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
that's what you're living obviously right now. So it's kind of ironic that you shut down a company to start a company so you could do what you wanted, how you wanted. And I don't want to say live a lifestyle company, but now you're teaching other
kind
people
of.
how to do what you did.
Yeah. I mean, it's awesome. And I have to tell you, I had this like euphoric moment or like out of body experience. I don't know what it was, but earlier this year, so I love to travel. And one of my goals has always been to live abroad in Europe. And for whatever life reasons, like, I don't know that that's going to be in our future anytime soon. But I was like, but I can travel for like an extended period of time and like live work. And that was always something that I wanted to do. And so at the beginning of this year, I spent a couple weeks traveling Europe, and then I hunkered down in Spain for about 2 weeks, and I
Wow.
worked in Sevilla, Spain for a couple weeks, and it was amazing. And it was everything that I wanted it to be, and it was so healing, and it was so amazing. It was just like, I
That's
highly
awesome.
recommend it to everybody. But this is where I was going with this. So we kicked off our pilot program for what is now a 22-week program. It's called our Accelerator program, just shy of 6 months. And we've taken the one-on-one work that I've done with women over the last couple of years, and we've built out this Accelerator program so that they can take it like more one step at a time. And we've brought in a bunch of guest speakers that are all experts in what they do as well, and built a community around it. And we kicked off this program from the Airbnb I was staying at in Sevilla, Spain. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm doing the thing. I am doing the thing. I'm
All the
helping
things.
women build their businesses, and I'm walking the walk, right? Like I'm in Sevilla, Spain. It is whatever time it was at that point, right? And I'm like, I'm kicking this off right here from Spain because this is what I wanted and I'm doing it. And I just like patted myself on the back. I was like, oh yeah, here we go. We're doing the thing.
That's awesome. And do you have a story you could share, maybe of you've been running it full time now for almost 2 years, part time before that with the other company alongside of it. Do you have a
Mhm.
story you could share of maybe one of the entrepreneurs you've worked with full cycle, whether that was 6 months or anything else for that matter,
Yeah.
that's just your favorite story, maybe?
I've got two that are really fun and
Let's
exciting.
go. Let's
So,
do it.
I had in 2022, a woman came to us and she had gotten laid off on maternity leave, which is always a fun conversation.
Yeah.
And she was like, screw this. She's a really, really great sales consultant. And she's a single mom by choice. And she just was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to just do this. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to do this. Kiley, can you help me start this company and get me off and running? And I was like, absolutely. And so we went through, what is it currently, like our full one-on-one year-long package. And we got her really clear on who she was, what she wanted. Adam, we were just talking about unique abilities earlier.
Yep.
We got really clear on what that looked like for her. It was actually really funny because we were having the conversation and she looked at this and she's like, no one's going to pay me to do this. And I was like, are you kidding?
That's funny.
I know 15 people right now that will pay you to do that. And so that's just such a good reminder. The thing that comes so natural and easy to us, which oftentimes feels like the thing that like nobody would pay me to do this because everybody can do this. No, bro, that's what you should really be hunkering down into because you could do it in your sleep and not everybody else can.
Right.
And that's a good reminder. So anyway, we got really clear on that. We built out her whole business plan. We helped productize her services. We got her really clear on her audience and her unique marketing messaging. We also built out her logo and all of her branding and helped her put into place like back-end operational systems. And within a matter of months, she had already started hiring employees. And a year
Wow.
later, she was where most business owners I see are in like year 4. She's killing it. She's got a handful of employees. I mean, she's also a sales professional, but she's crushing it. Like she's like my greatest golden goose. Like she's the best. And she's living her life. Like she's taken her kids on vacations to Costa Rica. She's just having the best time. Um,
I love
and
it.
then I have another woman that I worked with later that year. So in the fall of 2022, and she was working in corporate at the time. And she's like, look, for XYZ reasons, I need to make my corporate exit. But I'm going to be really smart about it. And I really respected that. Like, I would never tell anybody, yes, abandon a safe paycheck and start your business tomorrow. No, don't do that. That's not a good idea. So she was on like an 18-month path. And so we started this work. We did the same type of work. We got really clear on who she was, what she wanted, how she built her business and how she wanted to productize her services, how she wanted to serve people. And then we helped her do her brand and all that stuff. And then just earlier this year, she made her exit and she is killing it. She like her content is top notch. She's got all of the people in her programs that she wants. She's connecting with all the right people. Like she's built her business, her portfolio of business and her clientele exactly where she wants. And I'm so proud of her. But
That's
it
awesome.
takes time, right? Like it doesn't happen overnight. But
No.
these women, and there's another woman that we helped launch her business last April, and she's now going part-time with her corporate job so she can balance the two and slowly start to build up to full-time with her company. It just takes time, but
That's
we've
even
helped.
possible. It's even possible to scale out.
Yeah, yeah, it's possible. It's totally possible. And it's just about getting started and having the right resources and the right guide so that you're not wasting time and energy and money because Guilty. I've been there. I've done that. And that's what I want to help women not do
Yeah.
moving forward is just like save that time and energy and money. Like let's
Learn from
help.
your mistakes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's create a greater ROI for you.
Yeah. It's like it always reminds me, and I feel like I say this all the time. But that the quote by the CEO of LinkedIn, that one of the hardest things to do for people who want to start a business is to just take that leap. You know,
Oh,
you
yeah.
you could have the business plan done, you could have QuickBooks ready to go, you can have the entire your operations and systems manual ready to go, but that leap's tough. And the
It
truth
is
is,
tough.
the truth isn't good. I mean, it's not like initially it's going to be hard, right? And the
Hmm.
CEO of LinkedIn says that starting a business is like jumping off a cliff and building a plane on the way down. And
Hmm.
you just got to take the leap. And I'm on our fridge here at the office. I have all these quotes because I love quotes, but it
Hmm.
says take the leap and the net will appear. And it's
Yep.
just, it just believe in yourself and
You
take the
figure it
risk
out.
and figure it out. Yeah, it's right.
Yeah.
Um, you talk about making business personal. That's a big quote you use a lot in your business. I also would like to hear, so kind of two-part question here, comment. I'd like to hear more about the CEO hotline and how it
Okay.
serves, as a support tool for businesses.
Yeah. So we actually just redesigned the CEO hotline and trying to make it super simple and easy for people. As I mentioned earlier, I've had a lot of people say, like, I just want to pick your brain. And one of the things that I would tell to people is like, that's great, but that's your knowledge and that's how you make a living. So don't do it for free. And so that's what we built the CEO hotline for. So right now it's just essentially book 1 hour with me. And what do you need? I'll give you everything I got. Most of the time people realize, oh, wow, I need so much more than this. And that leads into different conversations. But it's just there to be a tool. So if you have something that you're trying to work through, I mean, I'm gonna toot my own horn for just a second.
Go for it.
I
Yeah.
have done this so many times. I'm so freaking good at it. I just help somebody in an hour, 1 hour. I help them nail down their target audience, their productized services, and how they're going to market in 1 hour. And I was like, man, I should charge more.
That's pretty
Like,
incredible. Yeah. That's some serious LED light action going on there. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, it's pretty incredible what you can get done in a short period of time when you're focused and
Hmm.
you know what questions to ask.
Yeah. What would you say are the most common hurdles that you see entrepreneurs facing, and how you and your team are helping people at RAYNE IX overcome those hurdles or
Yeah.
obstacles?
So there's a couple. Number one, I would say, unfortunately, the number one thing that I see our clientele struggle with is confidence. And a lot of that, we're talking about entrepreneurship here. So we're talking oftentimes about doing things that have never been done before. And so we come into play with imposter syndrome a lot. And imposter syndrome comes up when there's no blue book or blueprint to build the thing, right? And you're like, oh, I'm trying to build a thing that's never existed. Of course, I'm going to struggle with like understanding who am I? Why me? What do I have to do here, right? And so confidence comes into play there. So we really work with helping people to really believe that what they want to do is possible and giving them the tools and resources to help overcome that. Another thing that I see come up a lot because we primarily work with service-based individuals, so a lot of coaches, consultants, creatives, people who are selling their brains and their talents versus a product per se, like a tangible product. We help them productize their services
Mm,
because, and again, coming from an agency background, I know all too well the pains of bespoke services. And unfortunately, what happens there is a loss in profitability because you're reinventing the wheel every single time and you're trying to learn how to solve problems that you've never solved before. When if we just get honest with ourselves and we say, these are our unique abilities. This is what we're really good at. This is how we can really solve this. And I know because I've done it 1,000 times and I'm really good at it and I love it. And let me just crush this for you. And then we create a process behind it and we productize it and we don't tie it to our time. We tie it to the value that it provides. Then we're productizing services. We're creating incredible value at expedited speed and we're giving more value than money that we're taking, right? The other thing to keep in mind there too is like your budget is not their budget. So another thing to keep in mind again, because we think oftentimes the things that we're so good at, well, anybody could do those. And so we don't necessarily charge what we should be charging for them because we discount those services in our own
okay.
heads oftentimes.
Yeah.
But we need to keep in mind that we are solving a big hairy problem for somebody else. And that could be a $20,000 investment, $100,000. It could be whatever it is. It's whatever it means to them, right? So we help people productize their services so they're not switching time for money, because that's impossible to scale, is transitioning time for money. And then I'd say the third thing that we see a lot of people struggle with is sales. But the way that we help with that is the productizing of services. And then we also have a bunch of really amazing sales coaches and consultants, such as the ladies that I just mentioned, that we can refer them to for additional support from a sales perspective.
Okay, so there's startup companies, infancy stage businesses, we'll call them, growing, emerging companies, and then your mature enterprises, we'll say.
Yeah.
Do you tailor what you do, your advisory services, business advisory services, consulting, to meet the individuals of entrepreneurs of all stages of these businesses, or do you have a particular focus?
Good question. So in the name of productization, we focus on the problem that they're solving. So what we oftentimes see for the people that come through what we're working with is it's new people who are just starting. So we see three different types of people. We see women who are transitioning from corporate, want to start their own, typically coaching consulting practice of some kind. They don't know how to do it. They've never been an owner before. This big, scary world of entrepreneurship. Where do I start? Great. We'll help them with that because we build a solid business plan and all the things that I talked about, right? And then we give them the resources they need to be successful so they don't have to go out on their own. We also work with a lot of women who are transitioning from one company to another. So they're exiting one company, usually because it got too big. They didn't want to deal with it anymore. They're sick of managing people, et cetera. And they too want to launch a coaching consulting practice. And even though they've been running a business, it is very easy to forget what it's like to start a new business and feel like you can just make that leap real easy. You got to still start back at square one because you have to reinvent yourself. You have to reinvent the narrative that you're telling people, all those types of things. So again, we help those people as well. And we also work with women who have been in business for a while and need to pivot. So I just talked to somebody yesterday and I've known them and worked with them for years. Their business just turned 10. And she's like, I don't want to do this work anymore. I really want to lean into this. And I'm like, great. Then that's what we need to focus on. But it's still the same process, right? Because you're still getting clear on what the owner wants, because that is the number one thing. What do you want? Like, you don't want to do this work anymore? Great. What do you want? And then we design the business strategy and the business model to align with that. And then we design that marketing messaging, the productized services, et cetera, all in alignment with what the owner wants. So it's really solving the same problems, just at different stages in your business. Because too, as an owner, as you grow your business, there's different things that pivot or different interests that come up or, all kinds of different things that you as one person find yourself split or managing change and trying to figure out, okay, well, I don't know what happens next. I don't know what I don't know. I don't know what I want. I don't know where to go. Right. And so we focus on solving that problem at various stages in their business as they grow.
Okay. Now, another two-part question. Let's start with the first part because I really want to make sure I don't feed you the second one first and create a bias. But what, in your experience, what would you say have been the factors that determine whether an entrepreneur we'll just say the factors that cause failure? What are the things people don't do right? What mistakes do they make?
Don't do. Yeah. They don't ask for help. They think they can do it all themselves. They think they should do it all themselves. They shouldn't. I don't know any entrepreneur that has been successful and has done everything by themselves. I would never recommend that. And so I'd say that's the number one thing. And kind of pairing with that is finding trusted team members and partners, because you can't do this by yourself. You shouldn't try to do this by yourself, but there's also a lot of wasted time, energy, and money when you have the wrong people on your bus, your proverbial bus, right?
Right.
And then in the space that I work in, what I oftentimes see people do is try to create custom bespoke services for all of the things. And so I'd say the number 3 thing is productization of services. Now that might not apply to like a product-based business, right? They already have their products. But specifically in a service-based space, like you have to productize your services. And I'm just gonna keep going. There's a couple other things.
No, go for it.
But you can't productize your services if you're not really clear on your audience. And that's I should have probably started there. Like you have to get really, 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 really clear on your audience. And I don't mean, you know what? I was at this networking event the other day and I met this other consultant, and I was like, oh, great, another consultant. Let's chat and let's talk about, tell me about your business so I can know if I can refer people to you. And I said, who's your target audience? And he goes, well, anybody who can pay my retainer. And I was like, what an idiot. You're a consultant and people are paying you? Like, that is the worst response in the whole wide world. Like, now I don't know if I can refer anybody. I literally spent 30 minutes trying to figure out who this person served. And he still couldn't answer the question.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, I don't know how you've been in business for so long. But also that makes it so difficult to prospect. It makes it so difficult for your prospects to identify you as the person that should be the solution for them. Like, it makes it impossible. And if you don't really know your audience, then there's no way you can really understand the problems that they're solving or that they need solved. And then how on earth can you productize a service to solve that problem that you can't name and you don't know who it's solved for? So there you go.
That makes sense. Yeah.
That's my whole suite of things.
That was a good closer, by the way. That was perfect. So the second half of the question is this: what are the best practices? What are the things entrepreneurs do what are the markers, key personality characteristics, tasks, traits, best practices that indicate they're going to make it, they're going to succeed, the ones that the rock stars?
Yeah. I say you got to do the internal work. That's why that's the first step in our process. You have to do the internal work to understand who you are, what you want, what you're good at, your unique abilities, and then own that and delegate everything else. Don't try to do everything. You need to you need to build trusted partners around you so that you can really focus on the thing that you are uniquely gifted at. I think that's one of the biggest things: delegation, time management, and building a solid pipeline. And then being great at what you do. Like, the reality is you could do all of these things, but if the product that you deliver sucks, like, that's the worst word of mouth ever. You don't want anybody saying that, right? So just be great at what you do. But again, it's impossible to be great at what you do if you're trying to do a million things. You just can't. It's not possible. So that's what I would say.
Yeah. Well, before we close up, is there anything I didn't ask? There was some questions I was going to ask, but we're kind of running out of time here. But is there anything I didn't ask that you wanted to make sure you got out here before we closed up? That's putting you on the spot,
Adam,
big time, by the way.
Put some, no, you're good. Those were great questions. Thank you for that. I would just say, like, for anybody listening, do what you love. Be honest with yourself. That's the greatest thing that you can do. Just be honest with yourself. And sometimes that means that you have to make change happen, and change is not easy, but it will never happen if you don't start. And you are in charge. Like, that's the thing. That's the one thing you can't delegate: your path.
Yeah.
Right? You have to own it, and it's 100% up to you. And if you're currently living a life that does not make you happy, you can change it, but you have to decide to change it. You have to make the changes necessary. So I love doing the work that I do. Thank you so much for having me, Adam.
Of course.
And I will say, we've got a couple podcasts out there. I think you were probably about to say this, but if you want to hear more from me, you can check out Welcome to Eloma podcast. And then we just launched the Make Business Personal podcast as well. So
literally today, by the way. When I say today, we're recording this on April 3rd. So you won't, but by the time they're listening to this, it won't be for a couple weeks, I think. But if you want to get a hold of Kiley, you can get a hold of her on LinkedIn at Kiley Peters. You can find her on Instagram at Kiley Peters or RAYNE9. You can find her at KileyPeters.com, RAYNE9.com. And by the way, it's RAYNE Roman numeral 9, IX.com. And then the podcasts, Welcome to Eloma. It's welcome to ELOMA.com. You can find it on Apple Podcasts, Audible, Spotify, Google, all that fun stuff. And then the brand new podcast that literally just came out as we are recording this. I believe it was 11:03 this morning, if I remember correctly. But who's paying attention to specifics, right? But it's mbppodcast.com or makebusinesspersonal.com. And of course, it's available on Apple Podcasts, Audible, Spotify, Google, and all that fun stuff as well. So you'll be able to find all these details and more in the podcast notes below, on YouTube in the notes below. So if you have any questions, if you'd like to get a hold of Kiley, if you have any questions for us, of course, specifically, please reach out. But as I always say, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of podcasts out there, and you chose to give ours a listen or a watch today. So thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for joining us on the Elevate Your Business podcast. To complete our free business valuation quiz, to check out additional articles, webinars, videos, and other educational resources, or to set up an intro call with your host, Adam Koos, just head over to elevateandexit.com. This podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only and should not be relied upon as a basis for financial advice. None of our shows engage in rendering legal, financial, tax, or other professional services. Always talk to a professional business transition planning consultant or certified exit planning advisor before implementing any of the ideas shared in this episode.